Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty cool today.
Yeah.
Manitowoc, Ontario in the 1970s, specifically their winter carnival traditions.
Oh, wow. Winter carnival sounds fun.
It is. We've got some newspaper clippings and photos, and, well, they really paint a picture. You can almost feel yourself stepping back in time to the snowy landscape. And just imagine Bonhomme roaming around these massive snow sculptures, the whole community getting together for a weekend of, talent shows and all kinds of fun stuff.
I'm intrigued already, and I have to admit, I don't know much about Manitowoc. Where is it exactly?
So it's in northwestern Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah, about 350 kilometers east of Thunder Bay.
hmm
So, pretty remote, especially back then.
I see. So we're talking about a town carved out of the Canadian Shield, surrounded by forests and lakes.
A mining town, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Built around mining. And, when you think about that kind of environment, the harsh winters, the isolation, the winter carnival takes on this whole other level of meaning. It's not just about having fun. It's about survival, celebrating, and connecting during the toughest time of year. That makes a lot of sense. Community becomes even more important in those conditions.
And speaking of celebrating, one of the things that really jumped out at me was the 1979 Talent Showcase Extravaganza.
Oh, wow. Just the name itself.
I know, right? It was hosted by the Ontario Métis and Non-Status Indian Association, which I thought was really interesting. It shows the diversity within the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know if other community groups were typically involved in the carnival, or was this kind of unique?
The sources don't explicitly say, but it's probably safe to assume that a town-wide celebration like this would involve a bunch of different organizations, everyone pitching in.
Right, it's a community effort.
Exactly. And the talent, oh man. They had Monique Paquette winning for singing, and Zita Bathello just blew everyone away with their disco moves.
hmm
And Tommy J. Dussum, he won for singing in the 11 to 14 age group.
Disco dancing in a mining town in northern Ontario. I
Yeah.
love that detail. It just brings it all to life.
I know, right? And get this, Roger McCraw, the president of the association, he was not only the MC, he was also a performer himself. Talk about a multi-talented guy.
Wow, that's dedication. He really embodies that community spirit we were talking about.
Totally. Now, this talent show was just one part of a much bigger weekend-long carnival.
hmm
And seriously, they had everything. I mean, costume contests, outdoor games, and get this, drag racing on ice.
Drag racing on ice?
On ice. I'm picturing some serious fun and probably a few wipeouts. They were not afraid to embrace the winter, that's for sure.
Sounds like it. Did they have a schedule of events?
They did. It seems like the Our Lady of Lourdes School kicked things off with their own festivities. Another talent show, crowning of a king and queen.
Oh, how fun.
Right. And guess who won the king title?
I'm going to guess Tommy J. Dussum.
You got it.
Yeah.
That kid was on a roll. They also had costume contests. Imagine a bunch of kids dressed up as Mother Goose characters and robots. Outdoor games, a bone spiel for the older students, and of course, the classic snow sculpture competition. Sister Kathy Atwater's grade 2 class took home the gold with their Humpty Dumpty masterpiece.
Oh, that's so sweet. It sounds like the kids had a blast.
I bet they did. But let's move on to the main event, the Lions Club Carnival. And we actually have a photo from this one featuring a very special guest, Bonhomme.
Bonhomme, the mascot. What was he doing all the way out there?
I know, right? It's amazing. For those who might not know, Bonhomme's a huge deal in Canada, especially with the Quebec Winter Carnival. His presence in Manitowoc really shows how connected they were to wider Canadian traditions, even being so remote.
I see. So they weren't just isolated up there. They were plugged into the broader cultural scene.
Exactly. It adds a whole other dimension to the story. So at the Lions Club Carnival, they crowned Louise Villgosh as queen, and then things really got going. They had a cabaret with the Night Beats band, so you can picture the music and dancing. But then it gets really interesting skating races. Izzy Dizzy races?
Yeah.
I don't even know what those are, but they sound fun. Nail driving, balloon races, tug of war, and then, of course, that legendary drag racing on ice.
Wow, what a mix.
Right? Classic carnival stuff, but then some really creative, hilarious activities, too. And it was all for a good cause. They raised $150 for crippled children, which back then was a pretty significant sum.
That's wonderful. They knew how to have a good time and give back to those in need.
Exactly. And you know what's really cool? The spirit of celebration in Manitowoc didn't stop with the carnival. We've got another article here, all about their Christmas traditions.
Oh, so they kept the festivities going all winter long.
It seems that way. They had this annual outdoor decorating contest, and the creativity is just off the charts. First prize went to Russell Dean for his snow sculptures of the wise men and their camels.
Snow sculptures of camels. That's impressive.
I know, right? I could just picture them. These majestic camels towering over the snow.
I wonder how long it took him to create those, especially in the freezing cold.
Me too. And then second place went to Ken Kilthane for his vibrant display of Walt Disney characters. Imagine all those colorful lights and familiar faces brightening up the town,
Oh, that's heartwarming.
isn't it? But what I found most interesting was that Mr. Viodzis won third prize for his Charlie Brown and Snoopy display. And this was his fourth win in a row.
Wow, he must have been the Charlie Brown King. Or maybe the judges just really loved Snoopy.
Who knows? But it shows dedication for sure. Now, speaking of traditions that lasted, they also had this amazing community Christmas tree, which was already a 16-year tradition by 1972.
Wow, so a well-established tradition by that point.
Definitely. And it was a real community effort. The Ontario Paper Company cut and erected the tree, and the Jayco Electrical Department handled the decorations.
That's lovely. It sounds like everyone came together to make it special.
They did. And over the years, they even moved the tree from the hydro lines to its final spot beside the fire hall. It makes you think about how traditions change and adapt while still holding on to their core meaning.
It's like they grow and evolve along with the community itself.
Exactly. And speaking of adapting and evolving, let's talk about these incredible snow sculptures in front of Manitowoc High School. We have a picture, and they are not your typical snowman.
Oh.
No way. They've got these really unique stylized features and bold painted hearts. They look almost modern, you know?
I can picture them. They sound so full of life, even in the middle of winter.
It's true. And, it makes me think that these students were probably inspired by all the other amazing snow sculptures we've been talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It just shows how much creativity and artistic expression was flowing through Manitowoc's celebrations. From the costumes to the talent shows to the decorated homes, they really embraced their artistic side.
It's a theme that definitely comes through in all these sources. It's inspiring, really. A small town with a big heart and a lot of talent.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about, all the other stories, the traditions that might have existed beyond these specific newspaper clippings and
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah.
Like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine all the other things that were happening, the people, the moments that weren't captured.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder, how have things evolved in similar communities today? Are there other remote or tight-knit towns out there with these unique celebrations that we might never even know about?
I mean, that's such a good question. What stands out to you the most from all of this? What really resonates?
You know what I keep coming back to? It's how these celebrations were almost like a lifeline for the community, especially during those long, harsh winters. They weren't just events, they were expressions of resilience, of creativity, of this deep-seated need for human connection.
Yeah, that's so true. It's easy to get caught up in the specifics, the
Mhm.
costumes, the competitions, the drag racing on ice. But what really shines through is that sense of joy, of connection, of community. Like you can almost feel that excitement buzzing through the town as they came together to celebrate, to create, to support one another.
And thinking about that, think about your own community. What traditions bring people together there, and how have those traditions changed over time? Have any faded away? Have any new ones emerged?
That's a great point. Traditions are almost like living things. They
Mhm.
adapt and change along with the times. I wonder, do you think technology has played a role in how these celebrations have evolved?
Oh, absolutely. The way we connect and interact has changed so much, especially in recent decades.
Mhm.
Think about social media, for instance. It allows us to share experiences and stay connected in ways that were unimaginable back in the 1970s.
Right.
But it also brings up these questions about, the nature of community itself. Are we actually more connected or less connected today?
That is a really thought-provoking question. Because it's easy to look back and, kind of romanticize the past and assume that communities were more tightly knit back then.
Mm.
But maybe that's not necessarily true. Maybe technology has just changed how we express that community spirit.
It's a complex issue for sure, but I think what's clear is that the need for human connection, that's fundamental. It doesn't go away. And no matter how that manifests, whether it's through a winter carnival in a remote mining town or a virtual gathering online, that need remains constant.
So what does all this mean for us today? Even if we're not, braving the Canadian winters, what can we take away from all of this?
I think the real takeaway here is the power of tradition, right? It's
Yeah.
about finding ways to connect with each other, to celebrate what makes our communities unique, and to create those shared experiences that bind us together.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most meaningful experiences come from embracing the simple things. A shared laugh, a silly costume, a heartfelt snow sculpture. Those moments of genuine connection, that's what really matters.
And who knows? Maybe there's a hidden Manitouage right in your own backyard, with its own unique stories and traditions just waiting to be discovered.
That's such a beautiful thought. So listeners, as you go about your day today, keep your eyes open for those hidden gems of community spirit. You might be surprised by what you find.
And if you have any stories of your own about unique traditions, celebrations, we'd love to hear them. Share them with us on social media, send us an email. We're always eager to learn more about the diverse ways people connect and celebrate.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into the heart of Manitowatch.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep diving deep.
It's amazing, isn't it, how, just looking at a small town's winter carnival from, decades ago can make you think so deeply about community and what it means to connect with other people.
It really is. It speaks to how powerful those shared experiences are, whether it's a snow sculpture contest or even a drag race on ice. These traditions offer a glimpse into the heart of a community, what they value, what brings them together. And it's not just about the events themselves, right? It's about the emotions, the memories that they evoke, that feeling of belonging, of coming together to celebrate and support one another. It's something that, transcends time and place.
And I think it's something we can all try to cultivate in our own lives, in our own communities, whether it's by, bringing back old traditions or creating new ones, finding ways to connect with each other, to share those experiences. It's so essential.
Yeah, for sure. So, listeners, as we wrap up our deep dive into Manitowatch,
Hmm.
we encourage you to think about the traditions that bring meaning to your own lives.
And remember, community isn't just about being physically close to people. It's about shared values, common interests, and that willingness to connect.
So go out there and find your own Manitowatch.
Yeah,
Explore your own backyard. You might be surprised by what you discover.
exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. It's been a blast.
It really has.